As I like to say, God is just smart. You agree?
Absolutely.
Sort of. God's just smart. Today has been one of those days. I mean, it really kind of began yesterday, with the phone calls of people getting sick with the flu going around. And then last night I got a call from Trish, and she has a 103-degree fever. And so we're scrambling to get different bases covered. And then we got here this morning, and we had spent an enormous amount of time putting this 7-minute, powerful video together that really deals with, why you had the key in your hand, or at least thought of you got when you came in. And it was going to just rock, and we were going to laugh, and we were going to cry. And of course, it doesn't work. And we're scrambling like crazy to get it to work, and no matter what we tried, it just wasn't. So, just bring your key back next week, and something really cool is going to happen. Okay? And here's why God is really smart. Because with all the plans that we had made for today, for all of the powerful things that we had in plan for today, for all the work that has been done into making today look a certain way, they've almost all fallen apart. And that is just like life sometimes, isn't it? In fact, it's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And so God wanted me to remind you what it felt like before I actually talked about it. Thank you, God. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't remember who the first person was who said this to me. I think it was in high school. And it's happened several times since then, but I've gone up to someone and I needed to get somewhere, so I just said, how do I get to so-and-so's house, or how do I get to such and such place? And they always look at me with a little smirk on their face, and they go, you can't get there from here. And I'm like, ha, 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 you are so clever, very funny. Right? Because what we all know is you can always get there from here, right? There's always a way. We might have to backtrack. We might have to detour. It might take some time. It might cost some money. But you can get anywhere in the world from here, right? We just know that. That's why it's so lame that you can't get there from here. Ah. Well, what's true in geography isn't true in life. See, we're wrapping up today a series called Destinations. And the subtitle is How to Get to Where You Really Want to Be in Life. And you know what that subtitle sort of suggests? It suggests you can always get there. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you really can't get there from here. Because we can be smarter about the decisions we make in the future, but we can't unmake the decisions we've made in the past. I mean, we can't go back and erase circumstances that happened to us. We can't go back and erase mistakes that we have made. We can't do that. There's only a forward button in life. There's not even a pause, let alone rewind and do over. And the reality is that sometimes, just because of choices that we made, maybe even well-meaning choices, that led us to a path that we've walked for a while, or sometimes because of mistakes that we have made, or sometimes just because of circumstances that have befallen us, we find ourselves in a situation where dreams we have, good dreams, righteous dreams, can never come true. And my job, I get to experience this vicariously a lot in my life. You see, I've conducted funerals for babies and teenagers and young moms and men in the prime of their life. And every time I did so, there was a circle of people for whom certain dreams can never be realized. And I have been there when people have gotten the diagnosis, you have cancer. When they have gotten the diagnosis, you have AIDS. And certain dreams that they had about their life, probably not going to be realized. I've walked with people through bitter divorces and agonizing child custody disputes, knowing that some of their dreams will now never be realized. I've sat down with young couples whose heart is breaking because they cannot get pregnant And I have sat down with teenagers whose hearts are breaking because they are pregnant. And in many cases, they look and say, my dreams are now shattered. I've been there when people have committed crimes. Well, I wasn't actually there when they committed the crime. Oops. But I know people that have committed crimes, and I've then walked with them through the process of a trial and imprisonment. I have walked with people who have had to declare bankruptcy, who have gotten fired from jobs, who've been laid off, who've gone through unemployment, their finances are shattered, and they're looking to say, my dreams can now never be realized. What do you do when you can't get there from here? That's a pretty big question. And I think it's a pretty big question because this is what I think. Every one of us, at least once, at some point in life, are going to see a dream shattered, and we're going to know that one can never be realized. It's going to happen. Probably already has. For many of us. And what do you do? Well, first off, I think we do need to understand that this is a dangerous time of life. Because when we look at shattered dreams, when this realization begins to dawn on us that something we desperately want, and it's a good thing, a righteous thing, because of whatever, our choices, our mistakes, circumstances beyond our control, now they're shattered, can never happen. We are vulnerable at that time, and we are especially vulnerable to taking a path that can only lead to more complication and more shattered dreams. But we are so vulnerable to the temptation of walking this path. There was, in the very first century, there were some early followers of Jesus that knew all about having shattered dreams. You see, in the culture of the day, the Jewish people, they were more or less marginalized by the prevailing culture of the Middle East. And that, of course, was Roman culture. It was heavily influenced by Greek philosophy, with all of their various religions and practices. And the Jewish people, they didn't fit into all of that. And while the Romans conquered them and controlled them, the Romans gave them a little bit of latitude to kind of do their thing, because the Romans really didn't want to have to fight unless they absolutely had to. But their freedoms were largely restricted, and they were kind of marginalized in culture for being Jewish. And if it wasn't bad enough being marginalized, some of those Jews became followers of Jesus. And as followers of Jesus, they became outcast in the Jewish community. Now they weren't accepted in culture, and they weren't accepted in the Jewish community, and they kind of got the double whammy deal going on, right? Their lives were hard. And then at one point, one of the emperors, Nero, decided that in order to cover up the fact that he was driving his empire into bankruptcy through his decadence, he decided to blame all the trouble on Christians. And they began to persecute them. And they began to put them in the games with gladiators and see their lives end and feed them to lions and use them as torches to light Nero's gardens at night. And for these people who were Jewish people who became followers of Jesus, who were now severely persecuted, they basically had to run for their lives. Run for their lives. Families were fractured. Family members were captured, imprisoned, tortured, sometimes killed. They had to lay low. They couldn't contact. Life was horrible. Is it fair to say in those contacts, some of their dreams were just utterly shattered? And they were tired and they were confused. And in their tiredness and confusion, the Spirit of God used a person to write a letter to them. And that letter is actually contained in the Bible. It's called the Book of Hebrews. See, the Bible isn't really a book, it's a library. And there are 66 books in that library. 39 of them are before Jesus, looking forward to Him. 27 after Jesus, looking back at Him.